Charlie Peter's family has farmed this land in eastern Iowa for 6 generations. He runs cattle alongside the cornfields he uses to feed them. Like 2/3 of Iowa farmers, he's sceptical about man-made climate change.
It takes a level of humility, I think, to accept that it's not really in our control. We can do things to be good stewards of the land, the environment, but for us to say, you know, as a human being, I can control this or I understand what's going on, it's, I think, beyond most all of us.
That's not to say he doesn't take waste seriously. He uses strategies like rotational grazing for his cattle to carve carbon emissions and sells corn excess to create ethanol.
Anybody that's in the beef cattle industry, just like any industry, you try to be smart and you try to be efficient.
But he remains unsure about some of the Biden administration's boldest plans to tackle climate change, which wouldn't matter so much if farmers weren't on the front line of this battle.
They keep hearing gloom, doom, you know, we're not going to survive this. Everything's, you know, going to be bad, and they get desensitized to it. So then all of a sudden, it's like, I don't care anymore.
The Biden administration wants to tie $30 billion in farm aid distributed through the USDA's Commodity Credit Corporation to practices that are sustainable, things like carbon capture programs. The concern of farmers out here is that that money could be hijacked by middlemen corporations.
And I'll just give an example. We've talked a lot about my involvement in our local school and on the school board. Now they have a program that is a funding for non-public schools that they can receive some COVID funding, but it's administered by a third party. So whatever funding that school receives, let's say for example it's $200,000, the third party that oversees that receives 30%.
This is at the same time that the Biden administration's pushing for its extensive $2.3 trillion infrastructure program. Local bridge builder Dan Schroeder says that's his main concern.
I wish we had an infrastructure bill that was just about roads, bridges, and if we want to put a grid package into that, or water, drinking water, that's all something I call infrastructure. But I'm concerned that there's a lot of things tied to this bill that have nothing to do with infrastructure.
Some dams on Charlie's property still bear the mark of the Civilian Conservation Corps, which found work for unemployed men in the Great Depression. Whether this farm will bear the legacy of a carbon-neutral nation will come down to how effectively the Biden administration can talk to farmers out here in the middle. Annalise Nielsen, Sky News in Bellevue, Iowa.